Oh, my brothers, the Ahimsa challenge is not only to protect the innocent lives on the earth, but it is also to preemptively protect them through promoting justice. And the message which is lacking in most yogic material on the internet today, though I think a lot of this is sincere material, it's kind of repeating the things that sound good, look good, and are not the hard truths that we need to survive in the Kali Yuga at this point. At this point, we have enough compassion, enough love, and enough forgiveness for injustices in the world. We do not want any more of that, and we should be considering getting angry on a dispassionate level and fighting these injustices and putting out at least the words to combat them, but even better, doing something in action to stop these injustices. The Ahimsa challenge also includes stopping smoking, stopping drinking. These things, you might not see a connection. You say, well, how is smoking an injustice? Well, poisoning people's air, water, poisoning the birds and the fish is quite an injustice. There are actually a number of babies that die every year. This has been calculated in England and I think in America. Babies that find cigarette butts on the street or find them at home, eat them and choke on them. Many of them go to the hospital and some of them even die. Birds will take these butts and try to make nests out of them, and it poisons all of their children, poisons the whole nest, and this is really bad for sparrows and other species of birds which are there to help us. They help rid the air of parasites like mosquitoes. And when the birds are missing, yes, you get situations like in Italy where there's just mosquitoes everywhere. There's nothing there to eat them. And so it's not just a feeling when we say, well, a smoker is filthy and that they leave the world looking filthy. That filthy, we dislike that filthiness because it is in fact dangerous, it is in fact toxic and affecting the world in a bad way. The monks in Tibet are very particular about not touching the hands of any Chinese men because most Chinese men smoke a lot, and they smoke very toxic cigarettes. And the monks are afraid that if they touch that bad karma, that it will rub into their hands, poison them, and make them sick. In Tibetan Buddhism, they would almost place smoking as the cardinal sin. They would put smoking as number one. Generally, we put sexual lust as number one because it's the most destructive and the most ingrained into all living beings. That's why the cycle just keeps going and going, because the lust perpetuates the species, perpetuates the cycle of life and death and birth and rebirth. That's the fundamental thing. But in China it's sort of interesting because Chinese are very dispassionate about sex, and we can learn a lot from them and a lot of ancient texts in China about being dispassionate about sex. But frankly, for most Chinese it's quite easy to be dispassionate about it, and for a lot of Chinese the fundamental addiction is smoking, and that's pretty funny. But that's where that came from. That's why Tibetan Buddhism is like that. I wouldn't say Tibetans are Chinese or not Chinese. They're sort of red-skinned Chinese. They're welcomed into the family of the Greater China. China is building them a lot of roads and bridges and infrastructure things, giving them a lot of the conveniences of modern life. But at the same time, they've destroyed a lot of Tibetan native culture. And so for Tibetans, the deal since the Civil War has been a bittersweet deal. And That's how it works out. And for Ahimsa, another great challenge is finding belts, shoes, things that are not made of leather. And leather is a big challenge in the modern world, and I pray that all of you consider getting rid of all of your leather in your house. Refuse to wear leather. Why? It would really help us out here in China. China or India, these two are the top two countries that are producing leather, and it is so polluting to our environment. Many of our cities and rivers have been destroyed by production of leather, not to mention the pain and suffering of the cows themselves. It's just horrific. It's really disgusting, and a tear has to come to your eye when you see, a vast plain just completely destroyed by what they call these chromium salts, which are used to quickly cure leather products. If you're thinking, well, in my heart, leather hasn't always been bad. There has been Ahimsa leather in the history of mankind. This is true. If there were Native American Indians that were vegetarian and they used leather, that leather was probably Ahimsa leather. They did not have the chromium salts to do that, and I think those people would have been respectful of the animal. Perhaps Hopi Indians or some other kinds of Indians took the skin of the dead cow that was already dead and gave it a lot of respect. To cure animal skins with vegetable substances it can take a couple weeks to a month, I think. That's what I read. So it takes patience. And when they use that material for their housing or make careful use of it, that's also respect. What's happening today is that I have never seen a piece of Ahimsa leather in my life. I've never seen such a thing. And so we have to stop buying leather products. It's difficult when you're looking for a strong pair of shoes. Somebody said, only the leather shoes are comfortable. That's weird. The comfortable shoes are not leather. Leather is very hard usually. If the leather is very soft, actually that's more toxic. They need more chromium salts to cure soft leathers. Like all these bags that these vain women buy, like from Coach Leather, New York City. Wow, those bags, those soft leather bags, are very toxic. Every time they touch them, come in contact with the fumes, the smell of that is coming into their nose. And you buy these shoes, the harder leather is less toxic to touch, but it's still toxic enough. And then your feet bleed and you have to break in to them. Whereas if we could be making boots, my ideal would be, can we make a pair of work boots out of thick canvas and then give them steel toes and use a resin sole like for worker boots? That's some homework for all of you for this. Keep your eye out for this. Ask any shoemaker if they could possibly make us these, because they would look cool, they would be long-lasting, tough, durable, and comfortable, more comfortable than the leather versions. So the challenge of Ahimsa is to keep the justice going in the world and not say, it doesn't matter. It does matter. It doesn't matter too much. If it's extremely inconvenient for you to keep Ahimsa all the time, if it distracts you from meditation, then don't do it. But after your meditation and when you're awake in the world, be nice to everyone if you can. Be nice to all the animals, all the lives in the world, and I think you'll enjoy it. I think you'll enjoy the way animals look at you, the way they love you. You can pet animals you never pet before, and different animals will feed from your hand. I've even seen videos of a trainer of lions who just goes up and hugs lions. We had a vegetarian friend in Slovakia, who went up and pet wild bison. And the bison hated everyone else because they were meat eaters. And he told them that. He said, "You guys smell like slaughtered cows, so why would a bison let you touch them?" Right? But what magic that is when you can, right? You remember how you're going to pet a wild bear. They have a photograph of that. It's amazing. It's beautiful. I had tears come into my eyes last night watching these videos. I hope you can look for some of those videos as well. Videos relating to the friendship of animal and man, the proper dominion over animals. Thank you everyone for listening, and God bless.